spending money we don't have. But the time to borrow money, maybe the only time to borrow money, is when there's a crisis. And this is a crisis. We want to help people at this particular time.
Just coming in, the U.S. Attorney General says his department has not uncovered evidence of widespread voter fraud in the presidential election.
A comment from Attorney General William Barr fly in the face of President Trump's false claims that the election was stolen and his continued refusal to concede the loss to President-elect Joe Biden. Barr told the Associated Press that both prosecutors and FBI agents have been working to confirm specific complaints and information they have received, but they have not seen fraud on a scale that would have caused a different outcome in the election.
That's our Allison Keyes reporting. States may start seeing deliveries of the new Pfizer vaccine soon. The CDC is meeting at this hour to determine who will get the vaccine first. Dr. Kathleen Dooling with the CDC.
Vaccinating healthcare workers promotes justice because healthcare personnel put themselves at risk and will be essential to carry out the vaccination program.
Officials say the goal is to start at least 20 million Americans on a regimen by the end of the year. Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker says restrictions enacted 10 days ago are working to help slow the spread of the coronavirus in that state, and he's urging residents not to let their guard down.
Everybody has to keep doing these things because we know that they work, and the idea here is to keep everybody healthy and to keep our schools and our economy going forward.
At this hour, the Dow is up 247 points, S&P 500 and NASDAQ also in the green. This is CBS News.
Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Camber with another great guest impacting our community in a positive way. Today, I welcome South County Outreach President and CEO LaVal Brewer. He oversees the nonprofit organization that was founded in 1989 and is dedicated to serving individuals and families in crisis. Thank you, LaVal, for being on Impact OC.
Thank you very much for having me today.
Well, please share with us how South County Outreach is able to help those in need reach self-sufficiency.
Well, Don, we've been doing this for 31 years, and what we do is we help the community help their family members and their neighbors be successful. We do that in a couple of different ways. One, family members and neighbors in our surrounding community in South County can do a food drive, and that food drive powers our food pantry. Our food pantry is available for families with food insecurity and allows them to come and shop for themselves and be able to feed their families. That's one way that we do that. It's like community members donate food. We make that food available to our community. The other is we get support from cities and government to do rental assistance. And that rental assistance helps those families over many years, not just this year with COVID, many years, help them when they fall behind their rent. And you say, well, what do you mean by that? How do you do that? Well, it's not that people just don't pay their rent. It's that someone who's actively working in their lives, they're trying to help their families, but they hit a misstep. They either lose their job or they have a medical issue that causes them to be behind their rent. We have support for that helps us pay that back month's rent so they don't lose their home and their family and their children stay together. So those are two of the main ways that we help our community.
Tell us about your clients. Where do they range from in terms of demographics?
So our clients are our neighbors. When you come into our organization and you were to stand in front of the door, you wouldn't know if a family member that was there to make a donation or to pick up food. It's everyone who lives in South County, whether it is a person who is right next door to you or lives in a neighborhood over. It's everyone who lives here.
And the cities that are covered include?
So we have 11 cities here in South County, from San Clemente and Laguna Beach, all the way up to Irvine. So we have all 11 cities that we can support in some way, shape, or for food. And then we have some limited support around 6 cities for rental assistance. But we also have generous donors who have given us some money from foundations to help those additional cities who need rental assistance.
Now, with the coronavirus, many people lost their jobs. So you helping people with employment and all the unfortunate things that are connected to that?
So one of the things that we do is, one of the things that people don't know is we have 17 condo units that we manage throughout Lake Forest, Mission Viejo, and Laguna Niguel. And when someone loses their job or loses their home, we're trying to case manage them back into work or back into a house. So not everyone gets case management, but those who desire to learn more and to help themselves, we're there to help them think through how they go about getting back on their feet so that they can continue to power their family.
Can you explain how that works and give us an example of a family whose parents lost their job, no fault of their own, and they need help, they're uncomfortable seeking help, but you're there to help them?
So that's a common conversation. So a family is doing everything they need to do, but COVID hits, or maybe the company decides to go in a different direction and they lay people off. Most families in South County, when I say most, I don't mean all, many families in South County have the ability to get back on their feet within a month or two. But some need a little more help and a little more support to get back on their feet. We help either one. So if you're interested in finding out how to get back on your feet immediately, it might be that we just help you with food, the food pantry. We say, you've lost your job, you don't have a lot of income, come to the food pantry. It's just like everyone else. The difference is when you walk into our food pantry and you get food, you don't have to pay a bill when you leave. So one is we're helping people get over the stigma and get over the shame of not having enough resources right now while they're getting themselves back on their feet. And that's a good number of people that happens to on a regular basis who are suffering because they don't know there's a place for them to get some short-term help.
How are you able to reach out to them to know that help is available?
So we do it in a couple different ways. Actually, just about an hour ago, I got a notice on Nextdoor app. And in the Nextdoor app, one of our neighbors had posted that a member of our community had lost their job and was in need of help because they were going to lose their home. I simply replied on the Nextdoor app that South County Outreach can help, and I gave them our local number, 949-380-8144, and I said, leave a message and our housing team will get back to you and try to help you get back and stay in your home. That's one way. Another is we use social media where we target specific cities. And the last is forums like this to be able to tell people there's a place where you can go if you are renting to get back on your feet, and that you should go there because the stress, we all know that money stress, right? It's one of the biggest stresses we all have. Well, if you're having stress short term, it's still stress. And no one needs that stress in their family. No child needs that stress in their home. No family needs to go through that stress and the bond that really makes relationships harder. So for us, we want everyone to know, at least reach out to us so that we might be able to help you to relieve some of that stress so that you can focus on what's really important. Getting reemployed, making sure your family is taken care of, and keeping a roof over your head.
How are you able to accomplish that when there's so many people out of work and the need is so high?
Today, we're able to do a better job of it because we have so many resources coming from our families, our neighbors, and our community, as well as the federal government. So we have some extra resources right now to help families in those areas with our rental assistance. But in general, from the time that we started with Ray Havard, our original founder, to today, it's really about neighbor to neighbor connection. The reason why our food pantry is open and operates is because little Girl Scouts that I saw last week, this cute little brownie troop came in and they had collected like 40 bags of food. They collected more food than their weight. Like we weighed them and weighed the food, and the food was more heavy than their weight. Boy Scout troops, neighborhoods doing food drives, cities helping with food drives. That food comes in and we're able to then push it back out in the community, as well as cash donations, because some of the food drives that we do don't produce the result we desire as far as food. So I'll give you an example. We get a lot of cereal donated. Good cereal, great cereal. We get a lot of macaroni and cheese donated too. Great macaroni and cheese. My family loves mac and cheese. But what we can't get donated in a food drive is milk, eggs, and butter, because you just can't drop that off at a food drive. So our neighborhoods and our donors have been generous around making support to us and giving us dollars so we can fill that gap. So it's really about neighbors and neighborhoods making it possible for their neighbors to stay connected in their neighborhood and stay whole.
And how do you deal with homeless prevention counseling?
So when people call us and they get on the phone with us, we ask questions. And those questions are sometimes hard questions, like how much money do you have in the bank? What are you spending your money on? Have you called CalWorks to try to get on assistance? And those may seem like easy questions to ask, but it's not the kind of question you would ask your neighbor. Like when a neighbor loses a job, like, have you called CalWorks? What we normally say is, did you apply for unemployment insurance? Well, unemployment is going to be hard to fill, the gap. So we were able to ask those other questions to where people were like, oh yeah, I need to call them and I need to do this. Okay, can we provide you with a resource for that? Can we give you the number? Additionally, for those families who are inevitably going to be homeless, they just don't have enough money and they're so far behind on their rent or their mortgage that they're going to be evicted. It's a conversation about how do we make it so that when you fall out of your home, you don't hit the ground. So that's where we are part of the Family Solutions Collaborative. And that Family Solutions Collaborative is 21 agencies throughout Orange County who are working to end family homelessness. So in that, we're an access point. So if someone is homeless or about to be homeless, they can come to us and we can enter them into the coordinated entry system. And when we enter them into that coordinated entry system, that means that all the organizations in Orange County who are trying to keep people from being homeless are working on that person's behalf. It doesn't work perfectly, it doesn't work all the time, but at least is a one place for a person to get into the system and then begin to get help.
Now, are you dealing mostly with individuals or families and individuals?
For us, we are about anyone who lives in South Orange County. So if you're an individual, come on down. If you're a family of a two people spouse, come on down. If you're a family with children, come on down. We're going to try to help you.
And are you able to help them to prevent them from actually living on the streets?
There's lots of times we can help get people back into a home. And that's through that coordinated entry system, the access point. That takes time because there's not a lot of housing stock, but it is a way of getting back into it. For those who are living on the streets or living in their car but don't desire to do that, we're able to coach and counsel them through that, but also really kind of get them in that system also so they can get back into a home. Or for those who are homeless and may not have the ability to get back into a home or maybe even don't desire to, and there's a small number of people that still is the case because of other situations, we have food assistance for them and we'll do our best to help.
So who works with your organization?
So when you say who works, like volunteers and staff?
Yes, volunteers, staff, and maybe connections you have with other organizations.
Sure. So I'm in the South Spa. I'm working with Families Assistance Ministries. They're down in San Clemente. They do similar work to us. And Families Forward, who is just a stone's throw away from our office, they also do similar work. We have a host of volunteers who show up at our food pantry on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, to ensure that food gets out to families and helps us do that, as well as an integral small crew of dedicated volunteers who are helping us with the back-end system and expanding the reach of our staff. We have a small and mighty staff of 15 here right now, growing to 20 in January because of the need. But it's a coordinated effort to do that. On the other side, I've always talked about community in this conversation. There are organizations who really are helping us out. And when I say organizations, I mean local churches and synagogues and temples, as well as Rotary clubs and Lions and Kiwanis and National Charity League, the Lion's Heart, you name it. Anyone who wants to make sure that our community members are safe, they're coming here to help.
So they can contact your organization if they want to help?
Absolutely. Give us a call. We will try to find a place to put you and get you into the system.
What's the number?
So the same number as you would call for the homeless prevention. It's 949-380-8144.
Give us that number again, please.
Sure, 949-380-8144. Or they can reach us on the web at www.sco-oc.org.
Are you finding a lot of people are helping out?
Well, interestingly enough, we used to have 200 daily volunteers before COVID hit, and now we're just under 60. So we've had this tremendous loss of volunteers, and the reason for that is most of our volunteers were older adults who had underlying health conditions or were targeted for COVID, and it just wasn't safe for them to be coming and doing the food pantry work. So we've actually seen a significant drop in volunteerism, but we've been able to muster through that. We are hoping to get back into normal as we get back after COVID so that people can get back into the routine of supporting their families.
So how are you able to help in light of COVID?
So we've added more staff through the generosity of a couple of foundations who have given us the ability to kind of add some extra dollars. We've been able to add a few additional staff members into the pantry. We added an AmeriCorps member. An AmeriCorps member is an individual who wants to give a year of service, 1,800 hours back to their community, and they get a small stipend from the federal government. So we've added that AmeriCorps member into our organization, which is twofold. One, that AmeriCorps member is helping to take some of the pressure off the food pantry operations in the back, the moving of the food and the coordination and the storage and the guidance, as well as they spend some of their time helping us to redefine and re-outline how we go about bringing back tremendous volunteers.
Who are some of your partner agencies?
So we have a good number of organizations who give us grants and donations. There's some of your usual suspects, Bank of America, United Way, Pacific Life, Ingram Micro, Capital Group, just to name a few. Western Digital, Experian, don't want to forget them. They help us financially. They send volunteers when they could, and they will once we get back into the other areas. But the third part is they're the ones who are actually going to start helping us to expand our education program so that anyone who wants to learn how to be self-sufficient, what that means is budgeting, how to read a lease, what to do when something goes wrong with your home, how to get a job, how to get a better job. All of those things we're going to be launching in the middle of next year once we get past COVID, and expanded education opportunities so everyone can continue to be well employed.
Can you run us through what it's like for one of these people to contact your organization to get help? It's probably not easy.
You know, it isn't. I will tell you a story that I don't know the name of this gentleman, nor what I would tell you, but I was walking out of the office to go to a meeting 2 weeks ago. And as I was walking out of the office, I was expecting someone a vendor to come and bring me a document to sign. As I was walking out, I had my mask on, and I saw this gentleman walking up, and he didn't recognize that we have a little barrier out front to kind of manage people coming in for the food pantry, and he kind of just walked past it because he was coming to visit, and I thought, oh, that must be the vendor. And as I walk up to him, he says, "Hi, I have my application for food today." And in a split second, I recognized my fault there, that I had assumed that he was the vendor, and he wasn't the vendor. He was a man who was coming to get food for his family, dressed clothes and a shirt. He was probably going to get food, drop it off his home, and then head back to work. But yet he didn't have enough money to maybe take care of his family. That's who shows up. It's the man in a full shirt and pants. It's the homeless kid on a bicycle. It's the mom in a car with a couple of kids. You name the mom. She could look like your neighbor. She could look like someone you've never seen before. It's the mom who shows up in the Mercedes and just doesn't have enough money to pay for their food right this minute because things have changed. It's hard to do. No one wakes up in the morning and says, "You know what we're going to do to go shopping today? Let's go down the food pantry." You have to get up with a lot of courage, but you also have to know there's someone there who loves me, who cares for us, wants us to be blessed and taken care of, and doesn't want us to go to bed hungry. Once people know that and they can get over that stigma or that pain or that shame that they may have, they can get food, and their children don't go hungry, and they don't go hungry. And that changes the way that you live throughout the day, because if you're hungry, you're cranky, you're irritable, the stress level goes up. No one wants to hear their child say, "Is there any food?" Especially a family who maybe has had plenty of money to take care of food, and suddenly that's a big change, and they don't have the ability to deal with that.
How many people do you help a year?
So last year we served just over 6,000 people. This year we're looking at getting close to around 7,000 or more. You may think that it would be more because of COVID, We're just doing a better job of helping those who come on a regular basis.
Are you able to keep track of them and make sure they keep on track and not get hungry?
Well, we put everybody in our database. Just a couple of days ago, when we sent out our email saying we're going to have Thanksgiving turkeys, through the blessing of our community, we were able to give over 369 families turkeys, in addition to the hundreds of other families who came to get just regular meals. We did that during an email blast or through our social media posts.
So you intend to have an education component. What will it involve?
So we're still figuring that out, and we're looking for guidance around that. But I'll tell you, this is one thing we know it'll be. It'll be a partnership. So we're going to partner with other organizations who are already doing this type of work, but maybe not in South County, and maybe not with families who look like the families who show up at our organization. So let me give you an example, and not that this organization is going to do this, but Tire San Jose, Hope Builders, who's in Santa Ana, they work with a young population, and they move that population from not having a job to being employed as an intern to eventually getting work. I'm not asking them to come and do that work, but they have some expertise about how to get someone who is unemployed employed, teaching them the skills to stay employed and get a better job and move on to the next level. We're going to ask as many organizations around our area who are successful at that to lean in on helping us design a program that helps individuals who maybe want to get a better job, who maybe have never had the advice of a financial planner or a financial management. Maybe they have bad credit and they need some coaching and counseling from an experienced employee, not representing Experian at the time, but someone who understands credit counseling. Maybe it is we need to have someone do budgeting, and we have an organization come in and do basic budgeting and teach someone how to build their first budget so that they can stay in their home and they don't overspend. So
are you recruiting experts to give you a hand in this?
We're recruiting anyone who has some good knowledge and some experts. We're also recruiting those who can help us get the word out correctly.
So in light of what's going on, what can you say to people who need help and are afraid to seek it?
So I think what I can say to anyone who needs help is afraid to seek it. There's no fear in love, right? There's no fear in love. When you are loved and you know you're loved and you can feel that love, the fear that you have goes away. And we love you. Our community loves our community. And the love that we've received through our food donations, as well as the money to help with rental assistance, we're ready to give back to our community. So what we hope that you will do, if you're hearing this and you're suffering and you live in South County, is to reach out to us, because the love that we have for you will be spilled back into you. We're going to try to help you. There may be a chance we won't, but I can tell you this much. We're going to give you our attention, and we're going to try to help you get to where you need to be. So get over the fear of the embarrassment or how do I do that, and just lean into it and ask. Because when you lean into it and ask, someone's going to answer that question.
What is the best way someone can help you?
The best way someone can give us support, continue to do food drives. And here's where this is going to sound odd. Not food drives between now and the end of the year. That's normal, right? Our communities around the country rally up during the holiday time period, and they show overwhelming love and support. And I'll tell you that we've received that support. And what that support does is helps us get through the holiday season. But what it really does, it helps us get through the drought between January and March. Because everyone pours into communities and then they're kind of exhausted. And then between January and March, we don't have very many food drives. Our people don't make donations to our food drive program. So it kind of goes slow, which makes it hard for us to kind of move through. So what we're asking people to think about is, how about doing a food drive in February? How about making a donation in February? How about making a donation in January? You can make it today. More than happy to take it and put it to good use. But my fiscal year starts in January, and that'll help us kind of move through the first part of the year. The second time that happens is in the summer. So in the summer, everyone goes on vacation. So the food drives slow down and they stall, and our donations go slower. So think about doing a food drive or making a donation in the summer when kids are out of school and are not being fed at their school time, then there's a greater need for food.
Now, when you have a food drive, is it just a matter of having a can somewhere that people could just drop food in?
So there's lots of ways to do a food drive. The first is you can reach out to us at that phone number, our website, and search for food drive. And our food drive coordinator can help you do your own individual food drive, a group food drive like those cute little brownies or the Boy Scouts or the Rotary Club of Mission Viejo. They come in, they help out with that, and we will bring barrels to you, and you can have your members bring the barrels, or you can put them back in your car and just drive them over here, and we'll weigh them up and put them inside the organization. The third is you can just make a donation online, and we will go buy the food for you.
Share with us the reaction you get from people you do help.
So I got a letter from one of our clients who actually lives in one of our condo units just the other day. She actually was moving back to Texas. And I was really excited for her, not because she was moving out of California, moving back to Texas, but lots of people are moving to Texas. What she said was, we went out of our way to help her in a different way than we normally do. She needed to move back to Texas. She had enough money to pay the rent, but she didn't have enough money to pay for the moving truck to take all of her stuff. So she actually was going to leave all of her things behind because another organization was able to help her with a flight to go home. And as I was talking with her, and she was moving out, and we're walking through her unit, and I was just telling her how excited we were that she was going to be stable and how good of a tenant she was. She said, "Yeah, do you know where I can leave my clothes, leave our bed and stuff like that?" I said, "Well, why are you leaving your bed?" She says, "Well, I don't have enough money to take it back to Texas." I'm like, "Well, how much do you think it's going to be?" She goes, "Well, I got a quote for it. It's going to be around $2,000. It ended up being $2,300. And I looked at her and I said, I looked at the beds and I looked at the stuff and I was like, that's $1,500 right there. So she was going to lose $1,500 that she was going to have to buy when she got back to Texas. And I looked at her and I said, "Nah, I'll pay for your move. I'll pay for the moving truck to move that because I don't want you to have to not have this when you get to where you're going to go." She didn't break down in tears, but she wrote me a note that I got just yesterday. And she said, "I greatly appreciate," I'm paraphrasing, "I greatly appreciate the generosity that you've given me. I haven't met anyone who cares so deeply about me and my family to the point to where when I talk to them, I know that I'm going to hear something positive. And I know that your intentions are to help me be successful." And she said the joy that she receives from that is filling for her. And I'm just really touched and happy that we're always able to let our love be shown to people who live in our neighborhood and who just want to make good for their family.
Have you encountered volunteers who have been helped before?
Not normally. It's not a regular occasion for a volunteer to also get support from us. Not because we don't desire it, it's just they haven't presented themselves in that space.
LaVal, how do you want to be perceived?
Me personally, I want to be perceived as a happy person who loves you and is a great father and believes that our community can always be better. For South County Outreach, we want to be perceived as an organization that always provides dignity and respect to anyone who comes into our being.
Thank you, South County Outreach President and CEO LaVal Brewer, for being on Impact OC. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.